Alright, now we're ready to load our project into D2. So we're going to click on the little orange D, and this will bring up this dialog, which is where we load up our maps and our mesh. I'm going to go ahead and grab the wall mesh, which will be included with this and is just a plane that's been UV'd and triangulated. It is important to note, for your mesh to show up in 3D, your mesh does need to be triangulated. Now for the rest of our maps, we'll grab some of the maps we made. I'm going to pull this pull down. That sounded great, didn't it? Pull this pull down. Alright, so in the pull down, we're going to hit multi-select. And I'm going to grab an AO, the cavity, the color, and the normal. And you see that it will auto place those based on the type of map they are. And next to the color ID map, we have a links tab. And I'll show you what's going on there. This is the color ID map. Now, since we're working with just a single flat plane, I created this color map, and I didn't show creating it because really it's very simple and just incredibly tedious. And all I did was use my selection tools to block out the areas on my normal map and create some new layers where I filled those with just different colors for the different materials that I wanted to use. If you have a higher res mesh, you can of course bake a color map down from your 3D program, but that was really unnecessary with the simple project that we're doing today. So that was that. We've got this all loaded up. We're going to hit this links button, and that will bring up this ID link editor, and you can see it's looked at all the colors and separated them out and said that they're undefined. Now we can click on any of these buttons and we can go in and pick from these PBR setups, and in this case we can go with wood, varnished wood for that one, and I think for this one let's do a carbon fiber look. But you're not required to do all or even any of these when you set it up. It just needs to know that the map is there. So we will click done, and then we will click create base, and then I will pause while that loads. Alright, we get this little box that says that our project was created successfully, and you can see the two that we set up we have in our new setup here. Now we can also hit 3D, which is our previewer. Bring this in, and you can see we've got a start to texturing our map. We've already got some carbon fiber, we've already got some wood in here, but we're going to play around with that quite a bit. So first and foremost, the first thing I'm going to do is demonstrate that maybe we have a material we don't really like. So we're just going to get rid of this. Highlight it, hit the trash can, and that's gone. And now as you can see, we have nothing there. That's alright. We're going to go in. We have smart materials in D2, and we have Megascan materials. I'll open Megascans even though the one I want is not in here, just so you can see this. This is all the scan material that they have. And when Megascan comes out of beta next year, there will be thousands more in here that are available on a subscription, I believe, for the moment. And you can just click through and kind of see what you've got going on here. These are high detail scans of actual real world materials. But for now, we want some that they already have set up. So we're going to click this first button, which is their Smart Materials dialog. And it will bring this up. Now, we want wood, so we're going to come over here and pick wood. And I really kind of want a varnished cherry, I think. So we'll click Create over here. And once again, I will pause while that loads. Alright, so that's loaded up, and we can see that virtually our entire thing is now made of nice, beautiful cherry wood, which is not exactly what we want. And that's because what we have here in this dialog for each of our materials is an ability to turn that material on and off, a folder system that has all the bits that go into making the material, and a mask layer. And if we go in here, we can see we have our varnished wood and we have our wear that's built into it. And then those also have masks as necessary. Now, if we left click on this, don't do it, wait for it. If we left click on this, it will bring up our mask dialog, the Dynamask that is built into Dedo. But if we right click it, it will bring up the mask editor that we saw before. And then all we have to do is choose the color that we want that applied to and click Done. And it will apply that mask. And now we have our wood where we want to have our wood. Alright, so let's do another one. Once again, I'm going to go into our Smart Materials editor. And this time I'm going to choose a metal, and I'm going to open it up. There's quite a few in here. I'm going to go to Decorative, and I'm looking for copper. And once again, we're going to let that build. Alright, and we've had that build out, and as you can see, we have copper. It's covering everything just like before. So we're going to go ahead and apply that mask again. I'm going to choose our copper, and you can scroll in and out to get it small colors. Click Done. And now, as you can see, we have a nice copper on here. That's looking pretty good. This one I really do want to play with a little bit. There's a few things in Dedo I want to do. And there's also, because I'm going to be pulling this into Unity, there's something that I want to play with. Now, when we see this in this excellent render that takes all the maps into account, our metal texture looks pretty darn good. But if you're using Unity Free, for example, you're going to run into some trouble where if you look here, this dark color is actually going to come through in Unity Free rather than being turned into a metal texture. So I need to play with that a little bit. So I'm going to open up my copper file system. And over here on my reflectance, I'm going to pull that open. I'm going to orange this up a little bit more. Bring it way out here. Maybe something like that. I don't really want the red in that, even though copper kind of has a reddish hue. I don't want that in my final product, so I'm just playing around a little bit. And I think we can go with something like that. Click OK. And you can see our regular copper here has lightened up quite a bit. And you can see by looking at this, we still have these dark areas, and this is the mask for the tarnish on it. So we're going to need to play with that too. So once again, we're going to orange that up a little. Maybe make that just a hair lighter. Might even orange that some more. And there, I'm pretty happy with that. So we're looking all right there. But when copper sits, it also gets a lot of green to it from oxidation. So I want to add some of that. So let's look at what we can do with our masks. Now, as you can see, we're already in our copper material. We've got our two settings here, but I'm going to add another one. I'm going to come down here and add a clean layer. I'm going to go to color fill, and I'm going to pick that kind of aqua green color that copper gets. Something like that. We'll see how that goes. And then I'm going to go into my mask, and this time I'm going to right click and bring up my Dynamask editor. Now let's pull this out a little bit so you can have a look-see at it. Dynamask editor has all sorts of various masks for different surfaces built into it, and then controls, including post-process, for adjusting those further once we decide what we want. Now in this case, I think I'm going to add, I think I just want a ambient occlusion, so we'll try that first. And that'll take just a little second to load. And I'm going to pull this over so we can't really see these because we really don't need to at the moment. And you can see the mask that that's created. And right now we don't really have a lot going on with that. So we're going to need to play with it a little bit. So I think I might bring up the curvature a little, if it decides to let me. Just not doing a whole lot, but that's all right. I'm going to take the tightness. You'll have to bear with me. Sometimes I forget which way these go. So tightness I'm going to open up a little bit. Contrast, we'll fiddle with that a bit. I think I like contrast down. Bring our black-white balance, which is the black-white of our map. Even that a little bit more. And some of that's not bad. For now, let's call that done. We probably still won't be exactly where we want to be. We're picking up some now we can see in our map. And if you're not sure if you're seeing it in 3D, you can always click this force refresh down in the corner, and that will refresh 3D. And we can see we're picking up some, which is what I wanted, in the crevices along the edges. That's not all I want to do, so I think I'm also going to create another one. And we're going to do the same thing, give it a kind of greenish blue hue. And we're going to go into our Dynamask editor again, and we're going to stack some of these. This time I'm going to go to weathering. I'm going to pick surface rust. See what that does for us. That's pretty interesting. The black parts here are actually what's going to show up with that. So let's play around with this a little. Try taking our curvature up, see what that does. I might actually bring that down. That's not bad on the curvature. As you can see, I'm looking off to my other screen here at where some of this is added in. think I will pump up the texture a little. And let's see here. Let's bring tightness down a little. Take our contrast up a little. And this is a lot of trial and error and getting used to it. I have been working with this for a long time, so I'm still getting used to some stuff too. So all in all, that's not too bad, at least for the purposes of this. If I was actually doing this for a game, I would certainly invest a lot more time. If I was actually doing this for a game, I would certainly use higher geometry than a flat plane. But this is just to give you an idea of what's going on. So we're getting a little bit of that. I'm pretty happy with that. So we're going to go ahead and accept that. And we can go back out. Now, I've also decided I don't like just this plain graphite because there's something a little bit cooler in there that I want to use. So I'm going to ditch that. And I'm going to go to my smart materials again down here. And I'm going to go to fabric, which we will be coming back to. But they don't actually have like a carbon fiber, but they have this batsuit fabric, which is very carbon fiber-ish. So we're going to go with that. And we will let those maps load. All right, our maps have loaded up. And the batsuit, I'm pretty happy with the way that is. So all I'm going to do is right-click on my mask. I'm going to choose my little spot here. That's all I need it for. Click Done. And now we see we've got our little bit of carbon fiber going on there. So I'm pretty happy with that for our sexy little sci-fi wall. All right, we have one last thing to deal with as far as materials go, and that's our big center sections here. And again, since we're doing this kind of like sci-fi spaceship hallway, but it's meant to be kind of high-end and fancy and pretty, we're going to go back to our materials, and I'm going to go back to fabric again. And I'm going to... I think... I don't really like the polyester. I think I'm just going to go with a cloth wrap. I think I'll go with gray cotton. That's just a little bit cleaner out of the box, and I want this to be fairly clean. So again, we'll let that load. All right, and our gray cotton has come through, and as you can see, we do still have a lot of wear built into this, so let's go ahead and open this up. And this cotton edge wear is the majority of this that I don't want, because I want this to be a pretty clean texture, so I'm just going to go ahead and delete this. Cavity dirt's fine. It'll give us a little bit of darkening in the print here. So now we just have to load up our mask. Which we do by just clicking on that. Then the only other thing we have to do is change the color of our cotton. And I want this to be blue with just a bit of a purple tint. Yeah, I kind of like that. And that's coming through fairly nicely. All right, we're just about there. There is one other thing I want to do though, and I'm going to play around in actual Photoshop. So I'm going to move Quixel off to the side and just demonstrate that we can come in. Now you can see in our diffuse map that we have groupings for our cotton, our copper, our varnished, all that. I'm going to be working on the cotton, so right at the top of the stack in the group, I'm going to add another layer. And I'm going to grab my text tool. I'm going to grab my text tool, there we go. Switch it over to white. And impact regular is fine, 72 pixels is fine. And we will just call this level 3, level 2. I like that. So you can see we can do some modifying directly in Photoshop. I'm going to rasterize that. I'm going to grab my eraser. I've got this texture brush. You can grab really any texture brush. I'm going to zoom in here. And I want this to look like it's printed on there and it's kind of fading away like the rest of this. So I'm just going to erase some of this out. Just to look like it's kind of painted, peeled off. A little bit of wear. That's pretty good. I'm pretty happy with that. Alrighty, so we've got this whole map together. And now it's time for us to start looking at how we're going to get these maps into a game engine. So, I will see you in that video next.